Let's take a look at some current events in our prophecy update and understand kind of the signs of the times that are going on. And I think one of the things we want to make sure we highlight and make sure everyone's on the same page is that the demonic national convention just happened, and I want to highlight a few things because there's some really troubling stuff that's happening. And I'm starting to realize, oh boy, I know we already have a uniparty. I get that. But man, there's one side that is about as antithetical to the biblical worldview as they're not hiding it anymore. I've never seen this kind of stuff just out in the open, and so I think this thing that's happening is demonic, and I think they're not hiding it anymore. When demons don't hide anymore, that means they're not afraid to reveal themselves. And if they're not afraid to reveal themselves, that means there's no one really stopping them from doing what they're doing. Usually demons want to stay covert, they want to stay behind the scenes, but man, some of the stuff I'm seeing is just like off the chart. And I think it lends itself into, where does this go when you have this kind of person, population, that type of thing? So here's the first one we start with. Michelle Obama off the chart. Obviously calling Trump and racist and misogynist. Yeah. So we've heard all that. Yeah. But really, I want you to see the demonic aspect to what she's saying. She says, he wants to shut down the Department of Education. And I'm like, yeah, they should, because the Department of Education is nothing but an indoctrination department. Banning our books, none of that will prepare our kids for the future. The books we want to ban is called porno. Michelle, how demonic are you? We don't want pornography in our schools, you goofball. Anyway, she says they're demonizing our children for being who they are and loving who they love. That's basically a support of transgender surgeries right there, being who they are and loving who they love, and that's LGBT language right there. Look, that doesn't make anyone's life better, she argued. I'm sorry, but what you're saying, Michelle Obama, is straight from the pit of hell. To say that we're going to mutilate our children and not put boundaries on people, grooming them, you're crazy, man. That's demonic. But these are on this side, okay? Then she goes on for years, Donald Trump, and again, that's their target, did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black. Michelle Obama, what are you trying to say? You're throwing in the race card, you're race baiting. No one's feeling threatened by you. What I'm threatened by is not the skin color. I'm not threatened by that. I'm threatened by your hostility towards God. I'm threatened by your Marxism and your communism. I'm threatened by that. I'm threatened by your desire to mutilate children. That's what I'm threatened by. It has nothing to do with your skin color. So quit making it about your skin color, because it's not. I'm threatened because I see demonic activity behind you. That's what I'm threatened by. But anyway, this is the way it is. So then you have this vice president guy who's like way off the chart, right? This Waltz guy. He claimed he carried weapons in war when he never was deployed to combat. He falsely claimed he was retired command sergeant major when he actually retired to lower rank of master sergeant. He falsely claimed he served 25 years in the military when he was 24. Okay, maybe that was a slip up, who knows, 24, 25. He claimed he retired from the military to focus on a run for Congress, but multiple veterans who served with him said he retired to avoid deployment to Iraq. Yeah, he also claimed he conceived his two children through in vitro fertilization treatments, but the New York Times reported Tuesday it was actually how do I pronounce that? Intrauterine? Interuterine? I can't even pronounce that. Doc, help me out. How do you pronounce that? Intrauterine. There we go. You got it. Insemination. So, okay. So this guy's off the chart, man, like crazy talk stuff, right? He is for the mutilation of this is from Mark Levin, the children's genitalia without parental notification. He's abortion on demand without limits, tampons in boys' rooms, aligning himself with radical Islamists such as Imam Assad Zaman, who promotes the extermination of Jews, which is disgusting. So you tell me this. You have Kamala being picked as, she's going to be the candidate for presidency. She's radical, right? But then they pick her vice president, who's not moderate, but more radical than her, and a liar on top of that. Do they really think this is a winning ticket? Really? I mean, because if I was advising them, you better pick someone a little bit more moderate than Kamala because she's off the chain radical and she has a history of being radical. You better pull in a moderate to balance this ticket out. I would think some political consultant would say that, but no, let's get an ultra rabid, crazy, off the chart Waltz guy. And that's going to be the winning ticket. I want you to think, why would they run such a radical platform? His background a little bit, and I want to show you this because I'm not trying to be political. I'm just trying to show how evil is starting to run the course of things in our country. He hails from the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, the ELCA, and if you don't know anything about that denomination, they're overrun with drag queens and sexual immorality as pastors. Okay, that's where he comes from. I thought background matters on where people are coming, but that's his religious background, by the way. Okay, and then at the demonic convention, they had all these crazy anti-Israel protesters burning the flag down, blank this country, burn it down, anti-Israel, yada yada. Here's a picture of some of it.
Support Palestine!
You must support Palestine!
Hey, Democrats, don't you know?
Hey, Democrats, don't you know?
The siege on Gaza's got to go!
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 The occupation's got to go!
The occupation's got to go!
Hey, Democrats, don't you lie!
Hey, Democrats, don't you lie!
Because of you, our people died!
Because of you, our people died!
Because of you, our people died!
Here's another one. Had to bring in the police.
Exit, exit, exit! Exit, exit, exit!
So it reminds me of what Europe's looking like with all the Muslim riots that are going on there. Then articles come out, police say protesters might be responsible for maggots found in breakfast dishes of delegates at Democratic convention. Anyway. I was listening to Glenn Beck the other morning, and he made an interesting take on this. They got to the bottom of these groups that are protesting around the DNC, and I was a little bit shocked. Maybe I shouldn't be shocked, but I want to take you through what he said, because to me this is very concerning as an American citizen to watch this. So Of 200 groups projected to protest outside the DNC this week, 150 of them qualify as extremist groups, which means that they have documented ties or publicly expressed support for terrorism, terrorist groups, ties to, or publicly expressed solidarity with hostile foreign governments and or support of anarchism, Marxism, and communism. It's a problem. So I bullet pointed the things he said. This is interesting. He goes, at least 279 extremist groups are now on the streets as part of this coalition to march on the DNC in Chicago. There's a separate coalition that is publicly planning disruptions at the convention. Several Chicago-based Islamic groups that are also involved in the effort, but are not officially enlisted in any coalition. Of the 229 groups involved in the anti-DNC efforts, 162 or 71% qualify as an extremist group. At least 447 of the anti-DNC groups have expressed support for or have ties to terrorist groups or terrorist attacks, but a handful of those 147 groups have ties to or publicly support Hamas and or terrorist attacks on Israel on October 7th. Keeps going on. Hamas allied and Iran-backed Marxist, Leninist terrorist groups are also on the ground. They have a strong direct link to a coalition that is openly planning to replicate the violent 1968 Democratic Convention. The majority of the identified extremist groups are linked to or have expressed solidarity with at least one of the 9 foreign governments hostile to the United States, including Iran, China, Venezuela, Russia, North Korea, Syria, Cuba, Pakistan, and Nicaragua. What are they doing here? Where did we get all these extremists from? Well, the border, yeah, right? The border's been wide open. So we've had a border wide open since Joe Biden got in there. And this has obviously allowed these extremist types of individuals to be in our country. It continues to go on. Watch this. The extremist groups also have ties to or express support for 19 foreign terrorist organizations, including Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the PFLP, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, the Lion's Den, the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the Muslim Brotherhood, Jama'at-e-Islami, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, Marxist terrorists from Puerto Rico, Islamist terrorists in Sudan, among several others. How did they get here? Well, the border. The coalition of March on the DNC's official statement and website content explicitly supports Hamas and the atrocities committed on October 7th. A large portion of the extremist groups have engaged in and endorsed and attempted to assist acts of violence, property destruction, economic sabotage on the U.S. soil, and are justifiably described as acts of terrorism. The monitoring of the mainstream media coverage of the protests found almost a universal failure to inform readers or watchers about the pro-terrorism stances of the groups and the activists. So, Glenn Beck's opinion, and maybe you have a different opinion about this, I think this is really off the chart weird. He says it's a foreign interference from our greatest enemies, and the Democrats are playing footsies with them. So he's connecting them that this is all set up with these groups, these radical groups that are marching around. That's his opinion. I just know this. I've never seen anything like that. When I heard him spout that off, that shocked me. That we have that level. Where is our FBI? Where is the CIA? Why is it that we have one news organization blowing the lid on this, and these people like, what? You're affiliated to terrorists? Hamas, Hezbollah, IRGC? You don't belong here. That's a terrorist organization. What is happening here? And again, this is why I'm trying to point this out to you. This is not Republican versus Democrat. This is way evil. This is off the chart evil if these types of groups are being partnered with the DNC. Something's not right here. Okay? I think I already said that. Yeah. No, I didn't. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I didn't blow this up. The anti-Israel march and DNC featured Hamas flag on the front of the procession, which highlighted radicalism of some of the most prominent participants. Along the way, participants waved flags, carried signs with radical slogans, victory to Palestine, resistance, and joined extremist chants. We don't want no two states, give us 48, a call for destroying Israel entirely. They also chanted slogans comparing the Chicago Police Department, whose members were protecting the march, to the Ku Klux Klan, declared Zionists were not welcome, which effectively excludes most Jewish people. So it went anti-Israel, obviously, with these groups, right? It went totally anti-Israel. But that's a hallmark of the leftism. And a lot of the leftists, obviously, are anti-Israel. So this is a lot of stuff going on. Okay, to add to this, the demonic National Convention had Planned Parenthood offer free vasectomies and abortions during the DNC in the front. I don't know if you caught that. And you're like, what? And okay, and vasectomies and abortions, that just means they don't want people. It's a depopulation, ideal right there. Wow, okay. Wow. And then they invite rapper Little John to rap there as if they're like cool or something. I don't know what that means, but here's the funny thing is, and it shows you, they say they're champions of women and women's rights and all this other stuff, right? And they're really not, because of transgenderism shows they're really not for women's rights. When you find tyrants, they always abuse women. But anyway, so they bring rapper Little John. Well, dude, I had to block some of the titles out on this article because they were so profane. But they're all about treating women horribly, every one of them, and that's who they showcased, a misogynist rapper, but yet they're for women's rights. So what is it then? What are you doing? It's not that, like they have Lee Greenwood singing, I'm proud to be an American. They're not having him. They have Little John sing Nasty Girl or One Night Stand or whatever. It's like, what's wrong with you people, man? Then they want to tell you that the economy is really doing good. Okay? So they had to revise their plans, and they couldn't hide it, right? The administration nearly had negative 30% revision of job numbers marks the most considerable overestimation since 2009. New data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the administration padded the numbers with an extra 818 jobs that do not exist and never did. But who's gonna call out the lie? Who's gonna say, "Hey, man, you lied"? Who gets in trouble? Right, nobody. Then if she gets in there, obviously she has her plan. She wants to raise federal corporate tax from 21 to 28, which would be higher than China. China's is 25. It'd be the highest almost in the world, I believe. Okay? So let me ask you this. If you put a 28% corporate tax rate on companies, what happens to the economy? What happens to the stock market? You're going to hurt us economically. And they're saying, well, we're trying to help you. You're not helping us, because when you do that, it blows up the stock market, and many of us have our 401ks and our retirement in stocks and bonds and all that stuff. You mess that up, you mess up my retirement, and you're going to cause inflation and all this other stuff. You're going to cause layoffs, whole 9 yards. Okay. Then they want a 25% minimum tax on unrealized gains. And I've talked to you guys about this before. But this is part of their financial plan. When you talk about a 25 minimum tax on unrealized gains, that means it's a wealth tax. That means they're not going to just tax you on accumulation. They tax you every year just on what you have. Now they're going to say, well, it doesn't affect you, Brandon. Yeah, I know it doesn't affect me because I'm not in that target group that you're targeting. But the group that you're targeting is the ones who own the companies. And if you're going to give them a wealth tax, they're going to take their assets overseas. And they're going to take their companies overseas. And they're going to take everything out of here if you do that. And so you're going to deplete us of that. And then they want, part of her economic plan is to have taxpayers inadvertently provide $25,000 handouts to first-time and certain other prospective homeowners. That you're just going to give $25,000 to first-time homeowners. Let me ask you this. Did you get $25,000 from the government when you bought a home? I didn't. But they want to make that possible. And okay, that sounds great, wonderful. Well, who's going to pay for it? It's always that we are. That's the problem. So when you look at this, you're thinking, that's pretty evil right there. That's pretty satanic that you would do that, because in order to do this, you have to steal. You have to steal money because you guys don't produce anything. So yeah, you can print more money off, but in effect, by printing more money off, you're stealing from me because you're reducing my buying power and causing inflation and all that. So these people are wicked, okay? That's demonic. That's not how biblical economics work. Okay. Now, another thing to add to all of this. So this is at the DNC. This is a gender-neutral prayer room. Why do you have to be gender-neutral in the prayer room? I'm not understanding. This is a gender. You want to have a prayer room, okay? Why does it have to be gender? What does that mean? Does it matter what gender you are if you pray? But no, this is part of wokeism, right? And when you're ultra woke, you have to put signs up to virtue signal that we're gender friendly or whatever, and you're fluid and you can pray man or woman or whatever. So here's a shot of what it looks like inside this gender neutral prayer room, and look what's on the ground. What is that? That's Muslim. So you can go in your gender neutral prayer room, but oh yeah, I'm sorry, we forgot to tell you it's for Muslims. So if you're a Christian, you walk in there, which I don't know what Christian would walk into a gender neutral prayer room, and then get down on a Muslim rug and start worshiping or praying. What? What? This is the whore of Babylon, okay? It's crazy, crazy stuff, okay? So here's the thing. Did you know there are Christians for Kamala? And that's actually a thing. Christians for Kamala. Yes, it is a real thing. So here's the website, Evangelicals for Harris. Faithful, compassionate evangelicals, exercising our God-given citizenship. Always compassionate, apparently, always. They're always compassionate. Faith in action, volunteer to serve in your community. Now, we just studied the church of Thyatira. And what did I say about the church of Thyatira? It does works, but it has no theology. Yeah, that's her. That's her. Faith in action, volunteer to serve your community. As Christians, we are the hands and feet of Jesus. So join us as giving back to our communities through acts of service. Well, what does that mean, giving back to our communities? And what is these acts of service? What are they? What is that? What does that mean? It means socialism. It means social justice. That's what that means. Okay? Evangelicals for Harris praises pro-choice pastor for preaching. We are all God's children at DNC. Okay, first of all, there's a lot of contradictions in this. So these are the evangelicals supporting Harris, okay? Pro-choice. How? What are you talking about? So these are abortionists, okay, and we are all God's children. So let me ask you a theological question. Is every human being God's children? Every human being is made in the image of God, but does that make them a child of God? No. So what makes you a child of God? Jesus does. By believing in Jesus, he gives you the right to become a child of God, according to John. So only believers are called children of God. not anyone else. If you're an unbeliever, you're made in his image. That's true. But you are not a child of God. So you can see the theological problems with evangelicals that support Kamala. Okay? You can see the problems, okay? So Harris, I don't know if you know this, she claims to have faith. Okay? Maybe she does. I don't know. But they want us to believe that, let's just take whether or not she's a believer out of the equation, okay? But she's claiming to be faithful and committed, okay? Well, that's a discipleship issue. Let's see how faithful and committed she really is to the Lord. Her faith is supposedly rooted in social justice, civil rights, and the commitment to the poor. Okay? I want to know the verse and I want to know the chapter of where I can find social justice in the Bible, where I can find civil rights, which in her definitions, right, and a commitment to the poor. Because those seem to be communistic Marxist terms. Because we all know that advocating for the murder of the unborn, promoting sexual perversion, and stripping away religious freedoms are all the hallmarks of true Christian devotion, right? What are we talking about here? I'm serious, man. I'm not even. This is so demonic. And I want you. And the reason I'm showing it, it's not that you don't know this, but you have to see that evil is not hiding itself. It's actually mocking you, and saying, "I dare you to do something to me. I dare you to stop me." And I just mock you right in front. I will tell blatant lies right in front of you, and I dare you to stop me. That's the level you're at right now in our culture. They're not hiding anymore, okay? And there was an article in Protestia, 5 reasons real Christians don't vote Democrat. Well, let's just go through a few of them, and I gave a little bit more than 5 reasons. Well, if you remember back in 2012, in the Democratic Convention, they actually voted to not have God at the convention. Remember that? They literally booed him, and they voted 3 times. Let's just talk about supporting the imprisoning of Christians who pray outside abortion clinics, sending SWAT teams to homes to peaceful pro-life activists, or Kamala Harris prosecuting the whistleblowers unearthing Planned Parenthood's dead baby interstate trafficking scheme, but not the people partying out dead babies like a pick and pull salvage yard. Okay, so the people who exposed what Planned Parenthood was doing got in trouble. Instead of celebrating or even mentioning the birth of Christ, Jill Biden chose to have a gaudy, Christless, drag-friendly dance trope, making a display akin to something one would see at the Paris Olympics. Instead of celebrating or even mentioning the death and resurrection of Christ on Easter, in anything other than the same breath as honoring Ramadan and Passover, the Biden White House chose to celebrate Transgender Day of Visibility on Easter. The Democratic Party's platform is a point-by-point refutation of the 10 Commandments. The Democratic Party believes the government has the power belonging to God alone by giving positive rights to people. The Democratic Party doesn't practice biblical economics. The Democratic Party believes it can make decisions for your health. The Democratic Party believes that there is more than 2 genders. The Democratic Party supports the LGBT agenda. The Democratic Party supports grooming children. The Democratic Party supports mutilating children. The Democratic wants open borders and unvetted illegal immigration that allows criminals, drugs, human traffickers, Islamic terrorists to come through our border, not our border, but our border. The Democratic Party supports the military-industrial complex of the CIA, wars that are endless, like what's going on in Ukraine. The Democratic Party supports not prosecuting criminals. I don't know. You probably could go on more and more, but you have to tell me this. What Christian in their right mind that believes in the Bible could say they would vote for such a party? Okay? No, and they do. And they do. And I don't understand this. And here's the thing. It's not like I'm pro-Republican either, because they're goofballs too. Okay? But if I'm going to vote, I'm going to take the lesser of the evils, and I definitely don't want this demonic stuff, okay? Because we do have somewhat of a uniparty. That's why they don't like Trump coming from the outside, because of the unitary. You have the Mitch McConnells and all those people. They're awful. They're awful too. They're part of the problem. But you can now see, when you have this kind of level of evil, why they do not want someone else coming in, like Trump or anyone else. And again, this is not a pro-Trump rally. This is me exposing, this is how bad the other side is. Okay, so any believer you talk to, any believer, and they tell you, yeah, I'm going to vote for Kamala. What? What do you mean? How can you? What Christian value on that entire platform are you supporting? Because there isn't one. I just want to know. We got a major problem here, because there's a lot of Christians that are supporting this, okay? And there are Christians that are saying, you know what? I'm just not going to get involved at all, okay? And it's all bad, okay, yeah, but if you do that, you're giving away your vote, okay? You're burying your talent, because you have a right to vote. And you should. And people say, well, what's the difference, Brandon? You know, they're going to cheat. And I know they are going to cheat, because that's really, you know, they have to get to 85 million votes. How do you think they're going to do that? They're going to cheat, okay? So the pushback to me that I get from Christians that don't seem to understand political science for some reason is, yeah, I totally know they're going to cheat. I get it. But you have to outvote the cheating. That's the point. You have to outvote the cheating. And when 40 million Christians last election sat back and didn't vote, that allowed the cheating to win. Okay? That's what happened. 40 million Christians just sat it out. Hey, man. And I know I'm talking to the choir, but I'm talking to the online audience. You're going to sit this one out, you're part of the problem. By not getting involved and at least doing your civic duty of voting, for goodness sakes. What in the world's wrong with you? Well, Brandon, it's all going to Hades in a handbasket. Yeah, I know. But let me ask you this. Would you rather have a faster train or a slower train? Okay? Would you rather have more freedom or less? Okay? So the reason we're voting is not because I think I'm going to change the culture. I'm not going to reform the school system or the college university. I'm not doing that. I want to buy myself and the church more time. I want more freedom to be able to get the gospel out and freedom to do it. Otherwise, man, we're going to get censored. We're going to get shut down. They're going to do everything to us if you don't follow the governmental narrative. That's what's at stake here. It's not whether we get the culture back. It's whether or not you can do your job until the rapture happens. That's what you have to look at it as. And for some reason, Christians are not getting this. They're having defeatism and throwing in the towel, and I'm just out of it. It's dirty. And well, you're not voting for a pastor. What's wrong with you? You know, and let me give an example. Another example of this. Ilhan Omar, okay, in her district won overwhelmingly just recently, right? Just won overwhelmingly. Okay. But let me go back a few years and explain something to you. A lot of people in her district, and this is what a lot of people think, they think that the reason Ilhan Omar wins is because of this Somali population that keeps voting her in. Okay? That's what typically people think. There's no doubt the Somalis vote for her. No doubt about that. Okay? But Phil Haney, who used to come to this church, who was suicided by we don't know who, one time he was telling me that he was in Minnesota and he was helping the Republicans at that time against Ilhan Omar in her race. And doing everything they can to get the vote out and get people registered, all this other stuff. And, of course, she won. And Phil Haney goes, you know how she won? And I said, instantaneously, I said, it's the Somali votes. And he goes, it's not them. He said there was about 30,000 Christians that didn't vote. And if they would have all voted, she never would have got in. He goes, don't blame the Somalis for voting her. Blame the Christians who didn't vote, because that's how they got Ilhan Omar. And now she's dug in like a tick, and they can't get her out. But it all started with Christians not voting. Not voting. Okay, so with that being said, what's my point? I want to show you how evil it is. This is not a fight between Republican and Democrat. This is a fight between good and evil. Okay? This is whether or not the church is going to go through persecution, or how much persecution or not. Okay? It's on that level, because these psychopaths, if they get control, are going to pop the clutch. Okay? They're going to pop the clutch on every issue. That's what they're waiting for. Okay? So if you think the Middle East is not going to blow up, it will blow up. Okay? If you get the wrong person in there. If you think the financial market's going to blow up, yes, it will. If you get the wrong person, it will just completely shatter with what they're planning to do economically. So this is real deal stuff. And right now, what I would say is going on is, and I'm going to do a presentation on this at the conference, is fifth generation warfare. And if you haven't heard the term fifth generation warfare, you need to become familiar with this term, because it is not like classical warfare. Fifth generation warfare is a psyops. It is a propaganda. It is a brainwashing technique. It is I don't know who my enemy is. I don't know when things are being done to me, because I can't locate the enemy. Okay, so if you can't locate the enemy, you don't know what's really happening. They can see you, but you can't see them. It's sometimes fought through cyber warfare. It's fought different ways. But what's happening right now to the United States, and no one's picking up on this, is called fifth generation warfare. They are taking America down without a fight. Okay, that's what's happening. And every marker, when you study fifth generation warfare, every marker they're doing or have done. It's asymmetrical. It's not, there's the Russians lining up on our border to attack. It's not that. It's infiltration into the system, cyberware. It's propaganda. It's using non-state actors in certain locations to pump information and to twist organizations a certain way. It's nothing like you have ever seen before. It is off the chart. We have never seen this in human history. And the reason they can happen is because of technology. Technology is allowing fifth generation warfare. And so my thing is, they're taking us down, and no one even knows it. People are brainwashed and they don't even know it. Kids are brainwashed. All this other stuff's happening. So my thing is, we're going to continue to kind of let you guys know what's going on, but you need to be aware that they're targeting you. And if you say, oh, they're not targeting me, you have no idea. You are being targeted. You're the targeted group. They have to break down Christianity in America to get and achieve what they're having. And they have to fake Christianity with fake Kamala, fake this, fake that, fake Waltz, all this other stuff. Oh, we're real Christians, we're real Christians. They're not. They're communists. That's all they are, communists. Globalist communists. So they realize we've got to break down these Christians. Well, how are we going to do it? We just can't rush the church. We'll do it through psychological warfare. That's how they're doing it. And by the way, it's working really good, because there are not a lot of churches like us. A lot of them don't even know what's going on. So my thing is, get up to speed on this. Understand what fifth generation warfare is, because it could be happening to you and you don't even know it. I'll talk more about it next time, okay? Let's pray and we'll get you running. Father, thank you, Lord, for what we can understand in our crazy world that we're living in. It's demonic. We see it all around us. No doubt about that. It's not hiding. And that should tell us, that alarms us right now, Father, that they're not hiding it anymore. And so, Father, give us the strength to deal with what we got to deal with. Help us to not be deceived. That was the one thing Jesus said during our era. Do not be deceived. And so help us to understand the truth better than we ever have, so that we don't get bamboozled by what they're trying to accomplish through us. And so, Father, help us stay in tune with you, stay close to you, stay in fellowship with you, because you have to guide us. We can't guide ourselves. We don't know the path. You do. So help us stay on hand in hand with you as you guide us, Father. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, guys, God bless you.